The Immigration Minister says he's open to the idea of settling refugees in Hawke's Bay to meet a growing shortage of workers needed to pick fruit and vegetables in the region. The region's growers have warned that they're unable to fill hundreds of new jobs, meaning this year's harvest might go largely unpicked in some cases, as well as future crops, of course. But can the Bay meet the needs of such a vulnerable group? Here's our Hawke's Bay reporter, Anusha Bradley.
More than 8,000 refugees have settled in New Zealand over the past decade, but just 3, yes, you heard correctly, 3 refugees have moved to Hawke's Bay, the lowest of any region. The chair of the Hawke's Bay Seasonal Labour Working Group, Gary Young, says the horticulture industry is very keen to welcome more.
There's quite a lot of discussion with our community around that, and it's I'd say it's a wee way off. But our employers have said that they're very interested in exploring all these options, and if helping with refugees and helping them to resettle was appropriate for Hawke's Bay, then our employers would certainly look to help in that space.
The Immigration Minister, Ian Lees-Galloway, who's been touring the region for the last 2 days, says he's open to the idea, especially as the government prepares to double the annual refugee quota to 1,500.
When we go ahead with that, we'll be looking for other regions to receive those refugees above the 7 locations that currently receive refugees. And I would certainly be open to a conversation with local government, with the community here in Hawke's Bay about the Hawke's Bay becoming a refugee resettlement centre.
The Napier Mayor, Bill Dalton, also supports the idea in principle.
Napier's a very welcoming place and Hawke's Bay's a very welcoming province. The fact is, it's a bigger issue than that. We need to put some structure around. We can't just bring people in here and have them working in paddocks. We've got to house them, we've got to provide social facilities for them. It's a bigger picture, but it's something we need to look at.
The Chief Executive of the refugee mental health provider, Refugee as Survivors New Zealand, Anne Hood, agrees.
I would suggest that Hawke's Bay is just as well resourced in terms of providing for the needs of a vulnerable population as other parts of New Zealand. So I don't think that should hold it back. But my understanding is that they're always keen to ensure that there's a tertiary education provider in the area. And I guess the other thing is the availability of social housing and how expensive private housing is. Those are key factors that determine where people resettle.
Meanwhile, with unemployment at a record low in Hawke's Bay, just 14 seasonal workers have been recruited to fill 300 apple-picking jobs needed to harvest a bumper crop in the next few weeks. The Immigration Minister says he'll also consider a plea from growers to allow more seasonal workers from the Pacific to cope with growing demand. On Friday, the government will launch a website called Work for Seasons that connects seasonal workers to employers across the country in a bid to ease the labour shortage. In Napier for Checkpoint, Anusha Bradley.